So I'm really hoping now that you really are starting to see the advantages of using Lightroom. Being able to go through all your images very quickly. We haven't even saved the images yet, and you'll see again where Lightroom is very, very valuable in that. But now we've been looking at the correcting, and I'm hoping that you've got your head round moving those sliders on the exposure and the contrast and the highlights and the shadows. We're going to look briefly at the settings and the sliders that are just underneath those as well. So we're looking at this image here, and I hadn't corrected this image at all. It was fine. It was just the actual crop that I corrected. And looking at this now, you always look at, when you look at things a second time or a third time, you start to see a little bit differently. And now I'm going to take the exposure up a little bit. I'm going to take the contrast up as well, just to give it a little bit more pop, bit of a bite, shall we say. Pop is a word that's used in the industry where the image is just given that spark, pop, bite. They all sort of mean the same thing. Lift is another word as well that you can use. So let's have a look at now what the whites and the blacks do. I'm going to take the whites up all the way up, and again you can see how it's affecting the light areas there. It's almost similar to highlights, but there is something slightly different in that you'll see it affects slightly different parts of the actual image. So the blacks again here. Now don't feel that you have to adjust every single slider to get the best image. If you can adjust your exposure and your contrast, and that's all you need to do, that's brilliant, because then you can move on to the next image. If you need to tweak a little bit with whites and blacks, highlights, shadows, that's fine, but don't feel that those sliders are there and they all have to be used every time, because a lot of the time, if you've got the best image, if you've taken the photos correctly, then you're going to find you're going to need to do very little correcting. So let's have a look at what clarity, let's move down to texture here. And really the best way for you to do this is see what it does, is to actually have a go yourself at taking it all the way to the top and then all the way down to the bottom. Now texture almost pixelates the image. You can see here what it's doing. If I zoom into that image a little bit, that's texture all the way up, that's midway, and then it almost softens the image. So is it actually benefiting my particular image? I don't think it is. I'll go to clarity. Now clarity is a very, very popular slider and an effect that's used. And again, if I go in all the way, and again, it's a good idea for you guys to have a go at doing this, and it really softens the image there. If I go the other way, it makes the image look far harder, far more contrasty, far crisper in a way. And then you've got the dehaze, if you look here, and the best thing for you to do is to play with these sliders yourselves, see what they do. Saturation is an interesting one. It's an effect that I've seen used a lot of times where we oversaturate the images, where the colours are really enhanced. And this is one that you see used a lot online. Again, I think it can be a little bit gimmicky, but again, it's up to you to decide. But the best way to learn how to use the sliders is to try and make your images look natural. As I said, don't use the sliders for the sake of using them. Use them if you feel they really do benefit your photo. So have a go at playing with those, and again, see if you can just enhance your photos just that little bit more.